In the last video, we were talking about the recalls on the new V6 Tundras, and listen, I gotta make a bit of a disclaimer here. Of course, I'm still a fan of the Toyota brand, okay? I'm not like some kind of Toyota hater here. Every company has recalls, whatever. But I'm just thinking if you're one of those people that might have been shopping for one of these new Tundras and you've changed your mind, you're wishing that they would have brought the V8 back, you're looking for a brand new V8 pickup truck, where are you gonna turn to first? What's the next best option? I think the Nissan Titan. And you better act fast if you're going to do this, because this is the last year before Nissan discontinues the Titan. Gee, I wonder why. If you can get past the whole beaten with a bag of nickels styling the front end of these Titans have, these are actually really great trucks. I mean, seriously, it looks like a Ford Super Duty drove through a forest fire and came out half melted. They've got a 5.6 liter V8 in them. They're kind of Toyota style, you know, simple, basic, kind of crappy on gas, but they're really reliable, they're well built. Are they quite to like the Toyota level? I would say they're probably pretty close to that. Maybe not quite, but they're certainly well built trucks. We're talking 400 horsepower, 413 pound-feet of torque, which, if I'm not mistaken, is actually a little bit more than the 5.7 Tundras. Nissan is so confident in the build quality of these trucks that they're offering a 100,000 mile warranty, I think over 5 years or something like that. That's what I call standing behind your vehicle, if you ask me. And I'm pretty sure you can get these for quite a bit cheaper than a Toyota Tundra too. So if you're dead set on getting a Japanese pickup truck with a simple V8 engine, like it or not, the Nissan is your last option, and starting next year, it's gone. Next up, we have the Ford F-150 with the Coyote 5-liter V8 engine. And from what I understand, this is actually a pretty good engine. I was actually just talking to a buddy of mine that had one in his last F-150, and he spoke pretty highly of it, although he did have some oil consumption issues with his that, oddly enough, they remedied it by tuning the ECU and putting a longer dipstick in it. It was something to do with the vacuum at idle that was causing the trouble, I guess, and he said as ridiculous as the fix was, it actually worked, and it did fix the problem. So we're talking 400 horsepower, 410 pound-feet of torque, which if you're not paying attention, all of these V8s are kind of similar in terms of performance. From what I understand, the earlier versions of this engine, like before 2015 or so, had some issues with rod bearings and head gaskets and stuff like that. But it seems like the newer ones have had the kinks kind of ironed out, and they seem to be pretty solid engines. They just burn a little oil. So for the next ones, listen, I see a lot of you guys in the comments talking about how you just want a simple, basic truck, and you don't need all the fancy gizmos and all the technology, and you wish that they would just make basic work trucks again. Well, if you really just want to use your truck for work and not for luxury or a status symbol or comfort or whatever, then why not just get a work truck? They still make V8 powered heavy-duty pickup trucks. As a matter of fact, all of the big three still has one to offer. These gas-powered heavy-duty pickup trucks are known for racking up the miles. They're towing trailers every day, they're plowing, they're just overall getting beat up day in and day out by blue-collar folks. Now, I'm just going to touch on this kind of briefly, because the last time I brought up the whole government politics, EPA stuff, somebody accused me of having a boomer mentality, which I do feel kind of boomerish these days. But honestly, I truly believe that the automakers don't want to be making these turbocharged V6 engines. It doesn't make sense that a company like Toyota would spend so many decades engineering and perfecting these basic, kind of larger displacement, naturally aspirated engines that are simple, rock solid, reliable, and just happen to be kind of bad on gas. I don't believe that they would want to throw all that away and start completely fresh with something new just in the interest of saving a couple of miles per gallon, which isn't even like that much of an increase in the real world. When people are using these trucks and they're towing with them and they're driving them daily, they're really not getting that better fuel economy than the old V8s did. What it comes down to is, whether you want to hear it or not, it's the government, it's the EPA that's forcing these regulations on automakers in the name of climate change and emissions and fuel economy, that kind of stuff. But it does seem like right now, the heavy-duty work trucks are sort of one segment that is not on the EPA's radar for the most part right now. Because even those whack jobs can't expect every local landscaping business to switch out to a fleet of Tesla Cybertrucks just so they can continue doing business. So, with that said, enter Ford's 7.3 liter Godzilla V8 and the Super Duty pickup trucks. And I've heard a lot about this engine. It got a lot of hype when it first came out because, you know, all the automotive journalists were like going crazy. And it seems like it's been living up to the hype for the most part. I don't know a whole lot about these trucks, but I do know that they make 430 horsepower and 485 pound-feet of torque. So you're not going to get that in these lighter duty pickup trucks, that's for sure. They are making more power. It's just an overall big engine. Ford even advertises it as having commercial grade durability and performance. Now, whether or not that's true, I don't know. I actually just watched a video recently of a guy that was comparing all of the characteristics of this 7.3 V8 to GM's LS motors, and there was a lot of things that it had in common with the way that it's been engineered, and we can all agree that GM's LS engines are fantastic. Speaking of GM pickup trucks, how about the 2500 HD trucks with the 6.6 liter gasoline powered V8, not the Duramax diesel, just the gasser. These things make 401 horsepower, 464 pound-feet of torque, and if what you guys are saying is true, that you just want a basic work truck to be able to beat on, maybe this is the solution for you. Yeah, any of these heavy-duty trucks are going to be horrible on gas. If you think a Tundra or a Titan is bad, these guys are like on a whole different level of bad on gas. But you know, they're built pretty simple. Like we're talking torsion bars up front, leaf springs on the back. They're very basic trucks. And they kind of build in the way that they've always built them. The interiors are kind of brutal. They probably don't ride that great. They're meant to be a work truck to get the job done. They're not meant to be a status symbol or drive like a Rolls Royce to dinner with your wife or something like that. But if what you say is you want a truck that you can beat on, it seems like these things are pretty reliable. The 6.6 engine is, a lot of the people that own them that have been putting miles on them so far since these came out have claimed that they're bulletproof. Now, how the rest of the truck holds up, I don't know. It's still an American pickup truck, and from the little bit of reading that I did do on these 6.6s though, they do seem to suffer from oil consumption, and also the direct injection system gets kind of clogged up over time after you put a bunch of mileage on them, but you just have to clean it up, I guess. And aside from that, I don't think there's a whole lot of like commonly documented issues with that engine. Now, I saved this one for the end because, you know, as a former owner of a Chrysler product myself, I'm just not personally a big fan. But I have to mention the Ram with the 6.4 Hemi, just because I know the Ram lovers are going to be whining in the comments saying, you didn't talk about the Ram. Well, okay, we'll talk about the Ram. The whole FCA thing, the build quality, I'm not big on. I didn't have the greatest experience, but I didn't have the worst experience with my Grand Cherokee. I will say it just does not compare to the ownership experience of owning a Toyota truck. Now, have I owned a Ram before? No. I drove a 5.7 Hemi, and it was a really nice driving truck, actually. I considered buying it, but I didn't, and that was probably a good thing. So the 6.4 makes 410 horsepower and 429 pound-feet of torque. And the reason I'm talking about this 6.4 is because, from what I understand, the 5.7 Hemi and the smaller Ram 1500s is dead. Ram has switched to, what do you know, turbocharged 6-cylinders. And I believe the only V8 that you can get in a Ram now is to step up to a heavy-duty truck like this. It seems like the engine themselves are fairly reliable, but you definitely have to stay on top of maintenance. You have to stay on top of your oil changes, because that seems to be where people are getting into trouble, like with the lifters and stuff. And that's kind of a matter of opinion, whether you consider that unreliable or not, because personally, coming from my 4.7 V8 and my 4Runner, they're so easy on oil that I can skip an oil change. It's not the end of the world. I can neglect that engine and probably still not have any problems. But an engine like this might be totally reliable if you maintain it and you treat it well, but as soon as you stop doing that, you might run into problems. I think that's where the differentiation is here. So the 6.4s like to have clean oil in them, and that's an easy enough thing to solve, right? Stay on top of your oil changes. But again, having owned a Chrysler product before, I'm just not a huge fan of them, and if I had to buy a brand new V8 powered pickup truck right now, I think I'd be going with one of the other options on this list, just for my own reasons, not anything specific. And I'm not saying that Rams are bad, they're just maybe not for me. So anyways, if you want a V8, those are your options nowadays, people. And it looks like the V8 engine here in North America, sadly, is on life support and on the verge of extinction. It's just the way of the future, and we can kick and scream and pound our fists on the ground all we want, but they're gonna keep doing this whether we like it or not. So these are your choices for right now. If you want a brand new V8 pickup truck, go with this. If not, get a used one, a used Titan, used Tundra. Those things are both rock solid trucks. Try and make them last as long as you can, because I just truly don't believe that Toyota is ever gonna give us a V8 pickup truck ever again. So take that for what you will. Hopefully you found it entertaining, guys. I will catch you on the next video. See ya.